show you State's Exhibit 118. Oh, thank you. That damage incorporated patch. How do you go about, are all the patches, do the Bandidos regulate those patches?
No, ma'am.
Okay, why does he need approval from you?
Well, Attila had just started a new support club, so he was looking for guidance, so he sent that over to me.
Have you, in your time as a Bandido, had someone, I don't know, propose either a patch or a shirt or sticker or something that you thought that you didn't approve?
I'm sure. I can't think of any particular occasion, but I'm sure.
Okay. I mean, can they overrule you? Like, I mean, what are you going to do? Beat them up if they print it anyway? Like,
No,
what happens?
not at all. They could. They could just make it up and put it on, but there's certain things that they have the respect for us that they take our word and they respect it. I'm not going to go beat them up. We're not going to go beat them up. It's just a mutual respect.
For identification purposes, Defendant's Exhibit 127. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
Judge, I'm going to have no objection to this exhibit.
Okay. Then, Jake, I'll just publish it.
Well,
It's
Oh, shoot, I'm sorry.
do you want to admit it?
I do, sir.
Which exhibit is it?
It's Defendant's Exhibit 127.
And Judge, we have seen this. It's a crime scene photograph. We have no objection.
Okay, then this Defendant's Exhibit 127 is admitted.
Thank you, sir. Do you recognize any of the stickers on that motorcycle?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Which ones do you recognize?
All of them?
All right, start at the bottom right. We are not charming.
Yeah, that was a sticker I came up with.
Tell us about it.
Charming is Sons of Anarchy is based in a town called Charming on the TV show, and I made that because we're not Sons of Anarchy. We're the real deal, and it's nothing like the TV show. So we're not charming, and it's kind of a play on words too.
That bottom left sticker, can you see what that one says?
Yes, ma'am. Motorcycle clubs are not street gangs.
Do you know who came up with that one?
I don't.
How long has it been around, do you know?
For years. I've seen it for years, and it's a pretty good one.
Jake, do you remember seeing that message that you forwarded about tools?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember what it said off the top of your head, verbatim?
Maybe not verbatim, but what I remember is bring your tools.
What were you talking about when you said tools?
Bring your guns. If you're can lawfully carry, bring a gun.
Do you remember who you sent it to?
I sent it to my chapter and to the support clubs that were riding with us.
Why?
We were being targeted. And, we didn't want to get caught off guard on the road.
Is that the first time that you've sent out that message?
I don't think so. I can't remember. I don't think so. I've always, when we were having issues with the Cossacks, I always wanted my guys to be prepared. And, to prepare ourselves.
Were you expecting there to be any trouble at that COC meeting?
No,
in
ma'am.
Waco?
No, ma'am.
You had to know that the Cossacks were at least in town, though, didn't you?
Well, we knew that there's Cossacks around this area, but no, I sure didn't know that they were going to be there with that many people.
Have you ever seen that many Cossacks in one place at one time?
No, ma'am.
So on let's talk about the weekend, that weekend of leading up to May 17. Was there an event in Forney that Saturday night?
Yes, ma'am.
What was it?
Our chapter had a party there. I don't know if it was a food drive or I can't remember what it was, but it was a chapter event.
You know that there was a COC meeting scheduled the next day in Fort Worth?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I got to ask you, why are you driving all the way down to Waco for that COC meeting instead of just going to the one that's in your backyard?
Well, the one in Waco was the first time they had it in this area. So we wanted to come down here, show some support. Yeah, we like to ride too.
You say show some support to whom?
To the COC, to the clubs that are in this area.
Did you know that the Cossacks have been targeting other riders in this area?
Not at that time, no.
I mean, at some point, it was a little bit of a. At some point, it had to be a little bit of a show of who you are. I mean, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. We want to, it's one of the biggest deterrent is the strength we have in numbers and making a good showing. It usually keeps us out of trouble, keeps us out of any kind of conflict.
In the 5 years that you've been in the band, we've heard talk of this war, right? In the 5 years you've been in the Bandidos, have you guys had any conflict? Have you been at war with any other motorcycle club?
No, ma'am. We actually got along great with every other club.
Are there
in the country.
One percenter clubs in the state of Texas?
No, ma'am.
Talk to me about this Texas bottom rocker. In May of, scratch that, in 2015, starting in January of 2015, were there any other clubs wearing a Texas bottom rocker?
Yes, ma'am.
Who?
Scorpions, Banshees, Ghost Riders, some cop clubs, Cossacks.
What about in 2014?
I imagine all of them as well.
Did they have to come to the Bandidos to get permission to do that?
No, ma'am.
Hadn't always been the case, though, has it?
I'm sure somewhere down the road it was different, but not since I've been a Bandido. And in 2015, a good number of our support clubs had the Texas bottom rocker as well.
What is the rule for a support, if you know, do you know the rule for a support club having a Texas bottom rocker?
Yes, ma'am. If they have to be established for 5 years.
Okay. There were some other text messages where you were giving instructions about riding order. Do you remember that?
Vaguely.
And you said, don't worry about that.
Yes, I do. I do remember it.
Don't worry about the support clubs. We'll take care of that.
Yeah, because there's different support clubs, and sometimes there's bickering amongst each other.
Was there any bickering about who was wearing the bottom rocker?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us about it.
One support club was wearing a Texas bottom rocker, and one was wearing either a city or county, and they were kind of bickering back and forth who should be in front of the other club. And I just want to set it straight. We're all brothers. They fall in where they fall in.
It's all the same?
Yes, ma'am.
So when did you get promoted to president, Jake?
2016 sometime, I believe.
Okay, am I correct that you were released from McLennan County Jail in 2015?
Yes, ma'am.
I had asked you about your bond conditions. Do you remember that?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's talk about your bond conditions. The defendant, you, shall not directly or indirectly communicate with or attempt to communicate with known gang members. You aware that as a condition of you being released from the county jail, you weren't communicating with known gang members?
Yes, ma'am. I'm aware.
And you're aware that the state, you've heard what law enforcement's opinion of the Bandidos are?
I understand that's our opinion, yes.
Communicate with or attempt to communicate with known gang members, including members and or associates. or any motorcycle clubs, or go within sight of their residences. You know, that was an order. The condition of your release.
Yes, ma'am.
So I gotta ask you, I'm wondering how one gets promoted to president, Jake, and complies with this not directly or indirectly communicating with gang members or motorcycle clubs.
Well, I know we're not gang members, but it says it on there.
You broke that rule.
Yes, yes, ma'am, I did. I did.
How many times do you think you broke that rule?
A few.
You understand you get your bond revoked for doing that?
I understand. I do.
Have you and I had one or many fights about this?
Many fights. Many fights. Can I say something about it?
No. You may not. You were prohibited from communicating with any individuals who may be witnesses or potential witnesses in the trial of this case. Do you understand that includes the brothers from your chapter?
Yes, ma'am.
You communicated with them anyway.
I did.
Is there a, may I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
Take a moment to look over that and tell me if there's a single rule on there that you did correct, Jay.
Well, I've avoided the use of narcotics. I didn't. Well, I wasn't possessing a firearm or a club.
Do you understand what the consequences are if you were to get caught violating your terms and conditions?
I didn't at the time. I do now since you became my lawyer.
That was what, March of this year?
Yes, ma'am.
Is the club that important to you?
Yes, ma'am. The club is that important to me.
You have children. You know you could sit in jail for the entirety of this case if you got caught violating those bond conditions. You know that.
Yes, ma'am.
And you did it anyway.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's more important than your kids? It's more important than seeing your kids?
No, ma'am.
How long did it take you to get to trial?
2.5
Long time.
2.5 years.
And you're willing to miss seeing your kids for 2 years if you got caught?
No, ma'am.
Well, it sure sounds like it, because those conditions, they're not really negotiable. You know that.
Yes.
Are there ever any set of circumstances where you're not going to be a bandito, Jake?
No, ma'am.
Why is that? Why? How can that other thing be that important?
Because I can be a bandito and not be a criminal. I could be a bandito and I could be a good father, a good spouse, a good citizen, and continue to be a bandito.
You know there are people who wouldn't agree with you on that.
I know there is. But if, can I say something?
But if what?
But if those people that think I can't, that disagree with that, if they looked at my life and didn't know I was a bandito, they would agree that I was a good father, a good spouse, a good citizen.
Right, so long as you get to be a bandito. Because that's not something you're gonna let them take away from you.
It's all a part of me.
We're gonna change subjects just a little bit. I'm gonna talk to you about just some motorcycle etiquette. Can we do that?
Yes, ma'am.
You've seen pictures of the parking lot at Twin Peaks that day, haven't you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it discourteous to double park in a parking lot with your motorbike?
I had never heard of that until this week.
May I approach the exhibits, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
Am I correct, though, that you would be blocking someone in if you do that? If you double park that way?
Yes, ma'am.
That seems discourteous to me.
Not permanently. If someone needed to move or get out, we would move our bikes.
Have you experienced that before?
Yes, ma'am, at just about every event I go to or have been to.
So with these COC events, is it common or uncommon to double park?
It's actually courteous.
So let's get right on to May 17th. What time did you leave to head to Waco that day, Jay?
I believe we met about 11 o'clock that morning.
Okay, and when you say we, who was there?
My chapter and our support club members that were going that day.
Can you tell us who your support club members were?
I can say some of them.
Can you tell us who the clubs were?
I believe we had Dirty Bastards, or no, not Dirty Bastards. We had Road Dogs, Camaradas, Desgraciados, Vaqueros.
Where'd you meet?
I think that's it. At a gas station on south of Interstate 20 on 35.
Why did you meet up in a group like that?
That's the best part about traveling is riding in a group.
What pecking order were you traveling? You know when I say pecking order, do you know what I mean?
I believe so.
What?
What order we were in the pack.
Were you at the head of the pack?
Me and my president were, yes, ma'am.
And was that 3D?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you give us the name of your chapter members that were there with you?
3D, myself, my father, Shovel, Scratch, Wrecker, Candyman, and we had a brother visiting from Arkansas, I believe.
You say Candyman. Do you know his real name?
Yes, ma'am.
What was it?
Manuel Rodriguez.
How long you know Manny?
About 10 years.
Did you call him Candyman?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Do you know how he got that name?
He loved candy. He used to make all prospects carry candy with them for him.
How long is the ride?
About an hour and a half.
Did you come straight to so did you come down I-35?
From our meeting spot?
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Straight down 35.
What type of helmet? You saw the helmet that was in here
Yes, ma'am.
that had been introduced into evidence. Was that your helmet?
Yes, ma'am.
How would you describe that?
Multicolored with a gold visor, tinted visor.
Is it a full face helmet?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have your helmet with you that morning when you left to head to Waco?
No, ma'am.
Where was it?
The day before, we had a party, and when we were leaving the party, I put my helmet in my mom's truck and went home, never got my helmet, and that next morning we were gonna ride down to Waco, and it was a pretty day. I wasn't gonna wear a helmet, so I left the house without a helmet on. And when I met my dad at the gas station, he had brought that helmet with him, and my mom had told him to take it to me and make sure I wore it.
How long have you ridden with a full face helmet?
For years and years.
All right, I'm going to show you Defendant's Exhibit 1. Blow it up just a little bit. There's a laser pointer up there, Jake. Can you point to us for us where your bike is? When you pulled into the parking lot, what was it that made you stop right there?
Well, when we pulled in, there was room for a few bikes right here. And
Back out just a bit for you. All right.
there was a gap in the parking right here for about 4 or 5 bikes.
Okay.
Well, I knew that we had a group of about 20 of us, so there was not a whole lot of parking. So when I pulled in, I saw that gap, but I knew it was only going to leave room for, or only give room for the first few bikes. So I looked over and I saw this gap. So I pulled up, and I was going to park here and fill up this area, and then the other guys would fill up this area right here.
Okay, let me stop you for a second. Now, motorcycles don't have a reverse on them, do they?
No, ma'am.
Okay. When you were going to pull up and park right there, did you know, could you see from where you were who was on the patio? After I moved from here and started going this way, that's when I saw. At first, when I first pulled up here, I just saw a bunch of bikers. Okay.
And when I made the decision to come park over here and started going this way, that's when I realized that they were all Cossacks.
Did you know that the bikes you were about to park in front of were Cossack bikes?
No, ma'am, not at the time.
When did you realize that they were?
When I got to right here, around right here, before I even turned to back my bike in, that patio dumped out. And they stopped me and told me.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. When you pull into am I correct that you sort of have to turn your bike and then push back into the parking spot?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Had you been able to push your bike back into the parking spot before the Cossacks came off the patio?
When I pulled in, I was on the right, 3D, my uncle was on the left, so I came this way and kind of swooped in there and turned to where my headlight was pointing this way. So I kind of turned, and then I was backing in. I don't know if they stopped me when I started backing in, or if I got backed in a little way, but I remember my feet were down and I was pushing back to park my bike, and I remember I was just surrounded. There's Cossacks on every part of right around me.
And so, did you put your kickstand down?
Yes, ma'am.
And what else? Then what did you do?
I put my kickstand down and I got off my bike, and I remember it being further back, and I got off my bike and they surrounded me.
Jake, I'm going to stop you right there. All right, Jake, I'm going to show you a different photograph. Does that appear to be taken from the patio of Twin Peaks?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Use your laser pointer. Do you see where your bike is?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that orange bike, is that going to be 3D's bike?
Correct.
I see that your bike's over on its side. Do you remember how it got that way?
I don't remember. When I got off it was straight up.
All right. So before you got off your bike, had those Cossacks surrounded you?
Yes, ma'am.
Were they saying? Could you hear them saying anything to you?
They were telling us that, or they were telling me that I can't park there.
Okay. Did you recognize any of them by face?
No, ma'am.
All right. Did you still have on your helmet?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ride with gloves?
Yes, ma'am.
So when you got off your bike, do you even remember if you turned it off?
I don't think I did. I can't remember, though.
Okay, as you're standing there, and you have approximately how many Cossacks were around you?
That's all I saw was Cossacks, so it was...
What was your, what were you thinking? What was your impression at that moment?
That I was surrounded. This whole area was full of Cossacks. And not just a few, it was dozens.
Are you surprised? Are you scared? Are you happy? Like, what are you feeling?
Yeah, I was surprised. I was caught off guard. I didn't think that they would be there. Completely surprised.
So what's the first thing you do?
When I get off the bike? I get off the bike, and my president and my father and the rest of my brothers were kind of over here, and I knew I had to get from, I was on this side of my bike, and I knew I had to get from there to right here where the rest of my brothers were.
I'm going to stop you, Jake. When you say that you were on this side of your bike, do you mean?
Right on this side is, I would say, the right side of my bike.
So if you're standing behind your bike, you mean the right side?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. This is the back side of my bike. This, where this bag is the right side.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Why did you feel like you needed to get over to where your president was?
Well, I was surrounded, and I knew that my dad and my uncle and the rest of my brothers were surrounded.
All right, let me stop you, and I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 2 that's already been admitted into evidence. Is that a little bit of a better picture?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to blow it up a bit for you. Okay. Use your laser pointer and just point where when you got off the bike, where you were standing.
The bike was up and down. It was on the kickstand, so it was straight up right there. So I got off, and I was standing right here.
Where was the spot you had to get to that you felt like you needed to get to?
It seems like right here.
Okay. What was going on over there that you could see?
Well, I can see the rest of my brothers. They saw that I was surrounded and that they were right up in my face, on my body.
Jake, could I get you to turn?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you the only person they surrounded, or did they surround all of you?
Well, they surrounded all of us, but where I was kind of singled out. I was kind of, it looks like it's not very far from where my brothers were, but it seemed like it was a pretty good distance. So I knew I had to get to where my brothers were.
Did you?
Yes, ma'am.
When you got over there, what was happening?
When I got over there, it was just a sea of Cossacks, and we were standing there. There was 7 of us there, and we were standing there, and I can tell that, I guess, whoever their main Cossack was talking to my president, talking to my uncle.
Do you know who that person is now?
I do now.
Did you know his name then?
No, ma'am.
Okay, who was it?
From what I've learned, it was Big O.
Okay. And so he and David Martinez are having words?
Yes, ma'am.
Are they yelling?
They were.
Okay. And your impression, was it escalating? What was your impression of that conversation?
Well, no, not at first. They were yelling that we were blocking them in, that we were taking their parking, and we told them we ain't blocking you in. and you know, they were surrounding us. And
Was there someone standing in front of you?
oh yes, ma'am, in front, on the side. I remember standing there and just looking to my left and looking to my right, and you
Did
know,
you see anything on the front of their on the front of their vests? I mean, did you recognize any names, anything?
I remember the guy in front of me. I remember he had a beard. And it said Hill County. He had a ribbon that said Hill County. And I remember we're standing there, and there was a conversation going on to my right between my president and the Cossacks. And I remember asking this guy what his name was. And I was looking at him. I said, "Hey, what's your name?"
Did he tell you?
He did, but I don't remember.
Okay.
And I remember, because I remember I had my gloves on, and I said, "Hey, be cool, man. You know, be cool." And I knew we were surrounded. I knew it. And I remember my uncle saying, you know, I remember it because he said, "Get back on the porch." You know, get back. I was thinking patio. He said, "Get back on the porch. We'll talk after the meeting."
Okay. Did you know what they're supposed to talk about?
No. Well, no. He told them, "You guys have a problem. We'll have our meeting, and after the meeting, we'll have another meeting. We'll talk. But get back on your porch.
Okay.
Get back on the porch." And I remember I don't remember if it was Big O or one of the other Cossacks, but they were yelling at my uncle. And,
They seem angry.
oh yeah, they told him. They said, "Get the fuck out! Get the fuck out of here, fat ass!" And I was standing, and directly to my right was my brother Wrecker,
When you say your brother Wrecker, who's Wrecker?
Reggie Weathers.
Okay.
And my brother said, "Hey, don't talk to my president that way." And 3D had already started walking back. You know, he turned and was walking back towards the bikes. It don't seem like a big distance from here to over here, but it was. I remember he turned away from him to walk away.
From Big O?
Yes, ma'am, from the whole group of Cossacks.
Okay. And then what happened?
And when Rucker told them, "Don't talk to my president that way," I can't remember which Cossack, but there was a little Cossack that started yelling at Rucker, "Don't talk to my nomad that way."
Okay.
And I know Rucker was standing right next to me, and it was, I could just feel the tension, and I was kind of watching this side to my left and to my front, and I kept them in my peripherals. And I remember that guy hit Wrecker.
Guy.
Big O.
Okay.
He hit Wrecker. And
What else happened? So he hits Wrecker. Does Wrecker fall down?
no, ma'am. He's a tough dude. And he hits Wrecker, and as soon as he hit Wrecker, I knew that there was no turning and walking. There was no running. There was no getting out of there. So as soon as he hit Wrecker, I didn't know now, or I didn't know back then, but the guy in front of me hit me. I see
How
it.
do you know that now?
I see it on the video now.
Okay.
And I thought it just erupted and I hit the dude, but on the video it shows the guy hitting me. And I don't remember it, but I remember I hit that guy as hard as I could.
How
And
soon after those fists started flying, Jake, do you remember hearing bullets?
honestly, I don't remember. Within seconds, I remember as soon as it happened, they swarmed me. I don't know how many on me, but I remember fighting and kicking, just trying to, I don't know if I was trying to get away or trying to get them off me. But I was swinging. And I remember they ripped my shield off my helmet. And I remember they had brass knuckles, and they were trying to get inside my face shield. They were trying to hit inside there. And I was just kicking and punching, and I remember I had a fold-out pocket knife in my pocket, and I was trying to get to that pocket knife because I wanted to get them off me, and I never could. I couldn't even reach down to grab that pocket knife, and it seemed like it moved all over that parking lot. Just I would get free from a couple, and they'd have a couple more pull me down.
Jake, I want to stop you for just a second. You've seen some of the footage from that day, haven't you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When you were on the ground fighting with those guys, were you aware that some of those Cossacks were shooting guns at you? Could you see that in that moment?
I couldn't see it. I heard gun shots going off, and I couldn't see it. I was in the middle of a pile, and I remember waiting for a knife to go in me or a bullet to hit me. I was waiting on that. I knew I was fighting, and I knew it was coming.
Could you see where your dad was?
No, ma'am.
Will you laser point what bike he was on, if you can tell us from this picture?
He was on that bike.
Okay. At some point, you end up on the ground.
I think a couple times, yeah.
Okay. Do you know if Reggie Weathers had a concealed handgun license?
Yes, ma'am, he did.
On that day, do you know if he had a gun on him?
Yes, ma'am, I believe he did.
Before or after the fight?
I knew when, he was over here and he had been shot, and I remember him either taking his cut off or lifting it, and I remember seeing it in the back of his belt.
Okay. The gun itself?
Yeah, the gun in the holster.
Okay. I want to back up for just a second. When you were standing up there and you said you saw Reggie get hit by Big O, did you see him continue to fight, or did he leave? Like, what happened to Reggie?
I knew he hit, after the fact, I knew he hit back. But at that time, as soon as Big O threw that punch, then the rest of his guys were jumping, and I couldn't see what happened to him after that.
But you know that can you use your laser pointer and show us where you were when you saw Reggie's weapon still in his holster?
Over here? Yeah, over here.
Okay. Jake?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have a gun with you that day?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of gun?
I had a Derringer, 2-shot.
A Derringer what?
2-shot Derringer. It holds 2 bullets.
Where was the gun?
In my back pocket.
Was it in a holster?
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you have that gun with you?
My dad had given it to me, and I knew we were being targeted, and I wanted wasn't much of a gun, but I wanted to have some protection on the road.
You told us just a minute ago about that pocket knife that you knew you had.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you aware of the fact that you had that gun on you?
I was, but I didn't even think to pull that at that time.
Have you ever fired a weapon at a human being prior to this day?
No, ma'am.
Where were you when you were finally able to get your hands on that gun?
I was back over here, fighting somewhere around here, fighting with another couple Cossacks.
Jay? You've seen the video.
Yes, ma'am.
When you were on the ground fighting with those Cossacks, did you realize that Jacob Lee Ryan was shooting a weapon at you?
I remember seeing a gun pointed at me. It's when I was able to pull that Derringer out. And
Point on the ground where you were when you pulled that Derringer out.
around this area.
Do you remember specifically?
Specifically where?
Yeah.
It was from the time I was on the ground when I got pulled up and taken down again.
Did you fire that gun?
Yes, ma'am.
Who'd you shoot it at? Who were you aiming at?
Now I know it's Jacob Lee Ryan's.
Okay. Did you fire both shots?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you try to reload that gun?
I did.
Were you able to?
No, ma'am.
What'd you do with the gun, Jake?
When I got behind this pole, it was when I was in the middle of that pile before I was able to get up. I was looking for my dad, and I saw my brother scratch over here, bleeding from his head. I saw my brother Candyman, and when I got up, I needed to get cover, and I got behind this light pole.
Jake. Did you know that was Candyman that was dead?
I did.
Could you tell that was him from where you were?
Yeah.
Did you know where your dad was in that moment?
No. I was hollering for him.
Were you calling him Shovel? Or were you yelling for Dad?
And I was calling him Dad. I was yelling for Dad. And then he wasn't answering. So I started calling him Shovel. I started yelling for Shovel.
Where did you, where did you go? Did anybody answer?
No.
What could you hear?
Gunshots, and when I was right here, I was just looking for my brothers.
What did you do next?
I crawled under this truck, and I remember I seen a few of my brothers right here. So I crawled under that truck and under this one, and I came out, I think under this truck or between there, I can't remember, but I came out here, and I remember seeing my uncle and a couple brothers, and I kept yelling for my dad.
Did he come over there?
No. I wanted to run over and find him. I wanted to find him.
When did you find out he'd been shot?
They asked if anyone could help the wounded. And I still had my helmet on, and I raised my hand, and I came over here, and I wanted to come over here to see if I could see my dad. And I came over here, and there's another brother that was shot. And I came over, and I was trying to help that brother, but the whole time I'm looking to find my dad. And me and that other brother, we helped our brother over here to the front of to the side of Don Carlos. And I was still yelling for him, looking. And then I saw two cops with my dad in the middle of them, and they're walking him over here, and he had been shot, and that was the best feeling. Was seeing him. And they brought him over here, and his shirt was ripped off him, or they cut it off him, and he put his head on my lap, and he was covered in blood, and he started telling me to take care of my mom.
Judge, I'm going to object to the narrative at this point.
Go ahead and ask another question.
Jake, did you get the impression that your dad thought he was dying?
Yeah.
Did he start talking to you?
Yes.
What did he say?
He told me to take care of my mom and my brothers and my boys, and I wouldn't hear it. I never tell my dad to shut up. I told him to shut up.
Jake. You were interviewed that night, and they asked you, as police officers asked you if you had a gun.
Yes, ma'am.
You lied to them.
I did.
Why?
I was scared. I was scared. I've never been in trouble. I've never been in anything like this. And I guess that's all. That's the whole reason I was scared.
We saw some photographs earlier of a helmet, your helmet, that had a gun holster in it. Do you remember those photographs?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that your holster?
No, ma'am.
Do you remember the last time you even saw that helmet on that day?
I took it off when I was with my dad over here.
Let me give you a different picture, Jake. I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 6. And you can use your laser pointer. Show us where you were.
I was right here,
Okay?
and I took it off right here, I think. But I remember my dad had his head on my lap, and I was holding a IV bag when I took it off.
Okay. And is that the last time you remember seeing it?
Yes, ma'am. I believe so.
You've heard the officers testify in this trial, have you not?
Yes, ma'am.
You believe they saved lives that day?
Yeah, without a doubt.
They saved your life?
They did twice, for sure.
just walk away? Why didn't you just run away?
I couldn't.
Why couldn't you? You had one other brother who did, didn't you? Did you not?
I had my family and my brothers here. I couldn't, even if I could, I wouldn't have left them.
Why? Why?
That's my family. My uncle and my dad wouldn't have left me there.
Jake, did you go to Twin Peaks that day to hurt anybody?
No, ma'am.
Did you go there to pick a fight?
Absolutely not.
Did you go there to have a conversation with the Cossacks about anything?
No, ma'am.
Are you a bandito because did you join the Bandidos to be a criminal?
No, not at all.
Do you engage in criminal acts with other members of the Bandidos?
No, ma'am.
Are you guilty of the things that they're accusing you of doing?
No, ma'am, I'm not.